Hey guys, what's going on? Zan here, and today we received the E3 look at the Xbox conference, and I will be sharing everything you need to know about the system and the games. So to kick it off here is the Forza Motorsports 5 trailer. And now this is a very interesting game. For one, it's exclusive for the Xbox One. It has amazing graphics, but at the coverage, a developer explained how the game works with the cloud in an interesting way. So the cloud records data on your playstyle, and it creates what is called a drivatar, similar to an avatar. And this means your gaming style is reproduced by the cloud. So this blurs the line between human and AI in, game control and characters. So this means you can race a friend's drivatar, and it'll be virtually similar to racing your friend. So I think this really shows what cloud computing is capable of. Everyone thought it would just be used for storage, maybe loading maps, but it really shows it can actually do some hardcore processing, taking off the load of your Xbox One. So I think this 300,000 server thing they've got going, I think it's really going to work well with things like virtual humans instead of virtual AI. So overall, Forza looks like a very, very interesting game in terms of graphics and how this new drivatar feature will work. At the show, they also had a McLaren supercar there, and they're really paying attention to detail, and I think Forza's going to be probably one of the best racing games for the next generation. I don't know what the PS4 has coming, but it's going to be hard to beat. Now, the next trailer literally just made me, scream and shout. This was the Halo 5 trailer, and, this was unexpected. It was only a little sneak peek, no gameplay, as it's coming out in 2014. And so the trailer itself, doesn't show a lot, but it was pretty epic because I thought it was going to be some other game like Destiny. It looks a lot like Destiny. And so the key thing to mention here is that Halo 5 will be running at 60 frames per second on the Xbox One. Now, this isn't confirmed for the Xbox 360, it's only been confirmed for the Xbox One. But the 60 frames per second means you're going to get ultra responsive fluid gameplay. And now Call of Duty, it's no longer like the game that only has this. Other games are going to have this as well. I mean, Halo, I think, in my opinion, graphically, it looks a lot nicer than Call of Duty. In terms of realism, I'm not really sure about that. But Halo, I think, for 60 frames per second, it's really going to encourage pro gamers to kind of get into the scene. And I think it's going to be a real rival to Call of Duty. They did say, there's going to be a lot of innovations and stuff like that. But I can't really, speculate on what they're going to have. But this bit here looks pretty awesome, so it's obviously something to do with the campaign. I mean, there's a huge Forerunner sort of looking structure relating to the old enemies you had in Halo 4. As you can see here, he pulls out his hand, and that is a chip that his friend was on. He has an AI friend called Cortana. And so, as you can see here, they've made it look pretty, epic on scale, and, very mysterious. He's on this unknown planet, and he's in a cloak. We've never seen him in any other types of apparel or clothing. This is the main character. So I think Halo is going to be another interesting one to look at, and they also said it's going to be enriched with cloud computing. Now, I've already explained about how Forza 5 will be utilizing this, so I want to see how Halo does this as well, and this could be very interesting. But I am looking forward to Halo 5. So, in some other news, PS4 have acquired Warframe. So, Warframe is a famous PC shooter, third-person shooter, and it was originally built for PC, but now it's being ported over to the PS4. So, we can see consoles are starting to actually take PC games and put them on there, rather than before console games used to be ported to the PC. So, this means since the new consoles use a new architecture, it makes porting a lot more easier. So PS4 have got Warframe, well, Xbox, they've got World of Tanks. So this is another famous PC title. Whether it's good as or better than Warframe, I'm not really one to say. I've played both. I haven't played them enough to really find out. But World of Tanks, it's not about amazing graphics. I mean, Warframe does have some pretty good graphics that run on any PC. So World of Tanks is basically 15 on 15 tank gameplay. It graphically, it's okay, but it mostly relies on the gameplay. The gameplay is what sells this game. So it's going to be free to play on Xbox Live, and it's being ported for the Xbox One. No announcements on the Xbox 360, However, this game does look like one to be really hyped up about. I mean, if you guys have played it on the PC, you'll know what a great title it is. It can get a bit simple at times. I mean, I'd rather have Warframe on the Xbox One, but we'll see what happens in the future. So I'll just leave you with the rest here, and then we'll move on to the next game. Next up is Minecraft. So Minecraft's already on the Xbox 360. However, a lot of things like mods and things like that were unsupported, and updates were added later to make it more similar to its PC brother. Now it's going to be coming to the Xbox One, which I think is great. And what this means is bigger worlds can be created, you can have a better immersion. Graphically, obviously Minecraft's got the same kind of graphics. However, I think mods could be supported, or texture packs. And I think it's going to be great on the Xbox One. I don't know how cloud processing is going to work in this one, but overall it's just good to know that's coming to the Xbox One as well. Next up, it is the king of all multiplayer. This is Battlefield 4. Now, unfortunately, they did have a technical hiccup. It was pretty funny. The game didn't load and they had to stop the stream, and then people had to reconnect and stuff. But set the negatives aside, this is a great looking game. And a bit of good news for the Xbox One. Now, this is going to link to blurring the lines between PC and console games. So, Battlefield 4, it's actually going to run at 60 frames per second on the Xbox One. So I remember beforehand when Battlefield 3 came out, a lot of PC players had the advantage. They could run it at 60 frames or more. They could have 64 players. But with all this cloud computing and the processing power of the Xbox One, the game's going to be any differences are basically going to be barely noticeable from the PC and console versions. I think this is great because PC players and console players now have more to relate to. I mean, before, I don't know if you've tried it, but if you're a console player, you need to try Battlefield 3 on the PC. It is a completely different experience with, you know, more players and better graphics and better frame rates. So, as we see here, the gameplay, it looks pretty epic, I'm not going to lie. I love it. I think it could potentially be the new top dog of first-person shooters for the next generation. But I'm just going to leave you with the gameplay here. So I think 64 players are going to be on the Xbox One, as well as they've announced 60 frames per second. They have not announced anything to do with multiplayer. They may do over the next few days at E3, but we still have to wait. The level here is actually called Angry Sea. Now this is a single player level, and last time Battlefield 3's campaign was okay. I liked it. A lot of critics didn't like it. I thought it was okay. You know, it wasn't an amazing story, but it was certainly one that, you know, gripped me. And this time they're trying to make a better attempt for the campaign. You know, it's around the world. It's more focused on combat, not story. So we'll see about that. I mean, I think a campaign, the whole point of it is to tell a story, not just to give, you know, good gameplay. But as we see here, it does look, you know, the campaign does look generally amazing. It blows Battlefield 3's campaign out the water. So I think Battlefield 4, again, is going to be a great game to, you know, kind of try out if you're there at E3. I'm not at E3, unfortunately. Another thing I'd like to add is, at this reveal, there were a lot of, you know, issues and things. So I'm just going to talk about the Xbox One now while this gameplay is going. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is used games. So a lot of people are asking, you know, well, how do used games work? Well, it's complicated. So firstly, you cannot just sell a game to your friend, you know, or lend it for free. If you go, let's say you go over to a friend's house and you bring the disc, you and your friend can play on his console, but you have to be logged in. However, if your friend brings his account onto your Xbox One at your house, where you've got your game, then he can play and you do not have to be logged in. So this is due to the fact that games are installed on the Xbox One. Now, if you want to sell the game, you can give it to a friend for free, as long as they've been on your friends list for 30 days. They cannot borrow the game, and they cannot resell it. So it can only be given once to any friend on your friends list for 30 days. It can be actually resold if you wish to. However, Microsoft are trying to get control of this, and it will only be allowed at selected retailers. I don't know how it's going to work exactly. but rest assured you will be able to share your games with your family. I mean, my dad got a family pack just for the sake of it's cheaper. You know, you get 5. We have we have 4 accounts. So my dad has one, my sister has one which she rarely uses. I have one which I use like all the time, obviously. So anyone in your family, up to 10 members in your family, can use the game from any Xbox One. So this is good news. So that it shows they're not being stingy. You know, anyone can use it. However, the one game you have purchased, only one family member can use at a time. And I suppose this makes sense because otherwise, you know, it's technically piracy. If 10 people can use the same one game, it's basically having 10 games. So overall, I don't think there's much to be worried about. I'm concerned that Microsoft's trying to gain control of the market. Now, another thing people are worried about is this always online connection. Now, don't worry, the government's not going to be watching you, even though that NSA recent thing in the news has been happening. If you haven't read about it, just search NSA whistleblower. But yeah, so it's not going to be always online connection. It's going to be a periodic connection. So what this means is you have to log in once every 24 hours. So let's say you log in at 7 a.m. That means that you can play offline up until 7 a.m. the next day. If you, let's say, log in at 7 a.m. and let's say you go offline or your internet connection crashes at 6 a.m. the next day, you're only allowed to play for 1 hour until you have to log in again. So it's not 24 hours for how long you're offline. It's 24 hours until you from the point you've logged in. So this periodic connection is required apparently because the Xbox needs to use cloud computing. I'm not sure if it has to use it for single player missions and things like that, but it definitely has to use it for things like multiplayer. So that's why they need to have it always on. So thanks for watching. This has been just a sum up of the Xbox One and some of the games coming, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.